What's good, everybody? Happy Tuesday. We are back with the Doe Show. I hope you enjoy the sort of thing that we're trying to do here. Changing it up a little bit. And let me get kind of cleaned up here. We're ready to roll. Look, if you don't know who I am, I'm Dustin Tibbetts, financial advisor with Jazz Wealth Managers. Keep us in mind. Check out the website if you're interested. We manage our own portfolios. We are fiduciary financial advisors, so everything we do is in your best interest. Can't tell you how many times what's in the best interest of the customer is not in our best interest. And I see how the bigger companies struggle with that and why they're fighting for that rule to be changed. But we're not going to change anything here. What we do is we kind of come to you for these shows here in the middle of the day and also at the end of the day with the closing market update. We call it the closing beat. And we basically just try to keep you updated. Now, this show is designed to help you get your dough straight in one fashion or another. Now, I am not a motivational finance guy. Not good at that. I think if you've watched any videos, you can tell I'm not really a motivational guy, and I try to make up for it in the details. But there's still a lot of value in that. And actually, I'll give you a quick story, and then we'll move on. I was in a hotel at Disney. It's been a couple years now, and they were having a tech conference, so they were setting up all these booths and everything, and I was just kind of watching everything. One morning, I go down to the lobby. There was a Starbucks in the Disney. Every Disney hotel's got a Starbucks. I go down to the lobby, and I'm standing in line. There's about 7 people in line, and I'm just standing there half awake, and I look over in the corner, and there's a bunch of people surrounding this one guy, and you can hear the questions they're asking about growing business and, like, what should I do with my business, and should I take a loan, and how should I pay for things and employees and all that. And I'm listening, and I'm like, God, I can't wait to see who that is. And in my mind, I just thought it was some person at this conference. And it was Tony Robbins. And so I'm standing there, I'm like, that's pretty cool. I've never seen Tony Robbins. He's a monster, by the way. And so I'm like, just watching this, hearing the questions these people are asking. And the guy in front of me turns his head just a little bit to look at what was going on over there. And I was starstruck. Like, Tony Robbins to me is, I've never really followed him, so I haven't had a chance to get excited by him. But the guy in front of me turns his head, and I'm like, what? Like, I just freaked out. I'm like, okay, plan of action. What am I going to say? What am I going to do? Because the guy in front of me turned out to be Jeffrey Immelt, the CEO at the time of General Electric. And so I'm like, what? This is amazing. And I'm standing there in my Jazz shirt, just like I always do. And so after he turns his head, I'm like, okay. I didn't know what to do. I tapped him on the shoulder, and when he turned around, I'm like, if those people knew anything or were really that interested in business, they'd be talking to you, not him. And he kind of laughed, and he looked down at my shirt, and he's like, yeah, maybe so. And he's like, that's all right, though. He's like, he said a bunch of nice things about him. And he looked down at my shirt, and then he looks up, and he goes, so, what do you do? And for like the next 3 minutes was, to me, my moment in time. I'm like, I got everything I needed out to this guy in 3 minutes, had everything that I needed to know as far as the questions I had, and he talked to me. It was about 3-4 minutes maybe as we walked up there and got some mediocre caramel macchiatos or whatever, but that to me was the coolest thing. Now that motivated me, and that just shows the difference between a guy that motivates and a guy that had the ability to give details. So we try to do that here with the Doe Show. I try to give you details. We work with a lot of different customers that have a ton of different scenarios, and sometimes we have to work through some complex problems. And as they come up, I like to share what I can with you. And today what we're going to talk about is paying down debt. Should you pay down debt or invest? And this is sort of an updated video that we did a while back on should you, one or the other, and how do you decide? Well, we're going to take it a step further because times have changed. The markets are different now. Interest rates are different now, so we need to update this idea behind should you invest or pay off debt. Now today we're talking specifically about credit card debt. We're going to put a heavy focus on student loan debt. There's a lot of things I want you to consider here. It is not as simple as saying, well, I don't like to have debt and therefore I should pay it off. Or, well, I don't mind the debt. I want to invest for retirement. Screw the debt. I'll figure it out. It's not that simple, so I want to go through some things that I want you to consider. And as always, if you're watching live, I know it's middle of the day, you probably should be working, but if you're watching live and have questions, let us know. Otherwise, leave me a comment down below. Okay, the first thing I want you to consider is the time left on the debt. How much time do you have left on the debt? And the reason why is because things have changed now. So here's the deal. You got JP Morgan, You know who JP Morgan is, right? So JP Morgan and Vanguard. You know Vanguard as well, I hope. So two behemoth companies in the space. I'll never will be anywhere the size of even a fraction of one of them. But here's what they're doing. They're going to their clients. If you're a Vanguard client or a JP Morgan customer, you have your investments there or whatever. First of all, keep us in mind, we're not JP Morgan, but we have some advantages, I think. But the point is, they should be notifying you or have already notified you of their projections of what they think the markets will do over the next 5 to 10 years. If you didn't get that notification, unfortunately, you're not big enough for them to care. And I know that sounds sad, but that's what they do there. So if you didn't get the notification or this huge, I think it was about 6 pages at JP Morgan, I think it was a simple email at Vanguard, to let you know their projections. Why do they think the markets will do what they will do? And of course they have the experience to know the answers. They can pay analysts top dollar there. So here's what they said. They said, in the next 5 years, you are not going to miss much if you don't invest in the market, okay? Their expectations are anywhere from 3.5% to 5.5% average growth for the next 10 years. Sorry, I think I said 5 years. So they're saying expect a slow growth market. Now, they could be wrong. Anybody could be wrong, right? They're just guessing, but I would say it's a very educated guess. They're saying 3.5% to 5.5%. So if you have 5 years or left to pay off a student loan, I'm kind of leaning towards the student loan. I think you should prioritize that. Now, no matter what, unless we're talking about serious credit card debt, I am going to say you're going to have to do both. Everybody but one old guy says you should do both. And I believe that, to be honest here, but we're going to talk about the credit card debt and stuff in a second. But here's the thing. You've got 5 years or left on the student loan debt. You really probably should focus on that because you're probably not going to miss much in the markets. At least that's what the biggest analysts on the planet are saying, okay? So keep that in mind. Don't feel bad if you decide to go that route for a while and pay off that student loan debt. It's just going to make you feel better in the long run that you have cleared that out. And remember, student loan debt, by far the most dangerous debt on the planet. So if you've got 5 years left, I want you to do that. If you're one of our customers, go back to last week's class and see what we did on the student loan formula. So maybe you can help somebody along the way not take too much student loan debt. Because I'm sure everybody that has student loan debt would like to have changed that if they could go back and do it all again. Okay, next thing that we want to consider is that interest rate, okay? So notice how I didn't start with that. Things are changing in the overall market, given that if you're investing, you may experience some slow growth. So the time left on the debt to me is most important. Interest rate is second most important here because there's a balance sheet problem. And I know you've heard this before. I know somebody along the way has told you that if you're paying 20% credit card debt, you can't possibly make 20% somewhere else each year to pay off what you're sort of costing yourself, really. So you can't have a net return greater than credit card debt. Last year was a rare example, okay? And I hope people don't fall for that thinking that's going to happen every year. But if your interest rates are higher than an expected return, think of a balance sheet. You got your income, you got your variables, the things that you pay for, you got your constant costs each month, maybe a car payment, house payment, whatever it is, and then you've got investments that count towards income. Well, if that investments don't outweigh what your debts are, of course, it's not going to be a net return. So I can't make that argument for investing there. If you have credit card debt, you just can't, right? Now, if you have student loan debt, that's at a lower interest rate. Given the tax deductions, now I'm not going to get into taxes, but given that, you may be able to make a balance sheet argument for investing and paying at the same time. So keep in mind that sort of tax benefit there. Whenever you're figuring out returns, remember you're getting a tax benefit on the IRAs, whether it's now or later. You're getting that tax deduction on the student loans, at least as of now, right? So you got to factor those things in. So number 3, refinancing options, right? Notice how my handwriting started great and then it got worse. That's horrible. If you have student loan debt, refinancing options. Normally, people focus on the number. They go right away and go, Dustin, I've got this student loan debt, got an opportunity to refinance it at this rate. It's going to save me a little bit in the long run. Should I do it? I don't care about that percentage, right? So a good advisor is going to pretend and act as if the worst is about to happen to you. So if you call me, if you're one of our customers, you go, I've got $30,000 left in student loan debt at interest rate X. I can refinance for some reason and I can get it at some X minus whatever, at 1 or 2 or whatever, and I want to do that, my answer is going to be yes, but what are you giving up? All right. So if you switch, you get a lower interest rate, you may be going towards a private loan. Maybe you had a federal loan and you're going to go over to a private loan, getting some sort of better deal. I don't know if that's the case at this point, but I'm getting a lot of people that saying that they can still do that and it still makes sense. What are you giving up if things go horribly wrong? Yeah, you might save a little bit of money, but you are potentially giving up the income-based repayment plan. Don't have that in the private world, right? You're giving up the forbearance, right? Possibly for that. You're giving up possibly the public service loan forgiveness. You don't get that in the private sector. So if you're on that path and you're doing that, first of all, you should know if you're trying for public service loan forgiveness, do not do the income-based repayment plan. You're going to get rejected for your public service loan. Remember I said that, okay? I'm going to probably do a whole video on that. So think about what you're giving up. So if you're going to refinance a student loan, there is more than just the rate to consider, and that's all I'm going to say about that. If you're talking about credit card debt, you can play some games, of course. There's quite a few of you that love to play that game where you're hopping around back and forth. As long as you don't mind the credit score issues there, what you gotta, I guess if you're okay with it, then that's fine. There's a lot of dangers there, but this isn't that class, so we'll do another one on that. Okay, so time left on your debts. If you have less than 10 years or less than 5 years to pay off student loans or credit card debts, then you may want to consider focusing more on that, less on the investing. Maybe 90% goes towards those debts, 10% goes towards investing, okay? You're not making that big of a difference there. Interest rate. You're talking about a net return here, so a balance sheet equation. Don't think about the interest rate on individual accounts that you have. You're thinking about your finances as a whole. Our new nest egg can help out quite nicely with that. And by the way, I'll take a second to throw this in there. We're going to get some help with nest egg tutorials. We've got a financial planner that we're going to start working with that has started making some great tutorials. I haven't had a chance to sort of review yet, coming back from vacation, but more to come on that one. Okay, what else? Tax benefits, right? So we're thinking about the tax benefits of investing versus paying off debts. Remember, in a traditional IRA, you get that as a deduction. That has to count as some kind of return. You've got to factor in what that's worth. You've got to look at your taxes and go, well, hey, if I invest in a traditional IRA and I'm offsetting my tax bill a little bit versus paying down debt, where's the number there, right? Where does it end up? Does it end up better dollar-wise to do one over the other, prioritizing one over the other, I should say. So you want to take a look at that. If you're a low-income investor, if you're a low-income investor so put the debt aside for a second. If you're a low-income investor, you get the saver's credit, right, for putting money away in a traditional IRA. If you get that saver's credit, it could be as much as $2,500. What, right? That's a credit. So what does it make more sense to do one over the other? Please don't leave comments about the tax questions because that's one thing I can't actually answer. We're not CPAs or anything, but you do want to consider that saver's credit, the deduction on your student loan interest. That is $2,500. I think I said the other a second ago. $2,500 in your student loan deduction in your interest. You've got to check that out and make sure that that's something that makes sense to go left versus right. And that's just a matter of putting the numbers down. That's a matter of spending a few minutes to figure it out. Call your accountant to figure that out or make them do it flat out and just pay them a little bit to help you out. Okay? And then the last thing I'll add is sleep. There are tons of videos about paying off debt or investing. The bottom line is we live in an age where if you have student loans and you have credit cards, you need to knock them down. You need to work on that, but you can't afford to wait 15 years to pay that debt off to start investing. So no matter what Dave Ramsey says, Pay off debt first. You can't make up the difference. I did a great video that shows how putting money towards debt versus investing, even if the debt is costing you more in the beginning, because of how long that money's been growing, that snowball that starts to build up makes it more than worth it to get started paying off debt. The question is, do you start with 80% towards the debt and 20% towards investing, or 90% and 10%? That's what you have to figure out. Nobody is saying here to skip debt and just tell them to go away and invest. Please don't do that. We're saying there has to be a balance. It just has to be. If you have $25,000 in credit card debt, that's going to take you some time to pay down. The priority needs to go towards that. But you got to start putting something away for retirement. I don't care if you use us or not. So that's not even like a selfish thing. Okay? But the last thing is sleep. So you have to be able to sleep at night. I'm not the one paying off your debt. I will be the one to make sure your investments are where they should be and that are growing accordingly and everything like that. But I'm not the one that's going to lose sleep over the debt that you have. So when it comes to prioritizing how you're going to pay your debt versus invest, if you lose sleep, prioritize more over here. Put 5% away in your retirement account. Just do something. I can't tell you how many people have just started to get to this $1,000 mark, the real beginners with us in retirement investing, putting away the littlest amounts every single week, right? Little by little. They're knocking down their debt. They're doing everything they should be personal finance-wise, but man, they get so excited because they see how it adds up quickly. Not only that, the people that have larger balances and are now starting to make contributions where their growth is outpacing their contributions, that's a whole separate thing. That'll get you fired up. You can't have that if you wait 15 years to pay down a student loan and then start investing, because the conversation we're going to have is, holy cow, you're behind. You need more than what the IRA can provide you. And I hate saying that to people because it starts to sound sales pitchy, right? It starts to sound like you need to put as much money as you can away. I don't want to say that. I want to say, you just put a little bit away, you'll be fine, we'll work that number out for you. But unfortunately, if you wait long enough, it costs you time. And time is king, not cash, right? So when I say cash is king, okay, if you're going to buy a car, then the cash is king, fine. But if you're going to be investing, then time is king, not cash. So I hope I helped you in some way. If I did help you in some way, hit the subscribe button. I understand we went over 20,000 subscribers, whatever that means. That's pretty cool. So maybe YouTube will send me a pillow or something. I don't know. They haven't sent me anything. If they send me so much as a poster, I'll put it up on the wall. Just seems like that's what the kids do these days. But anyways, if I've helped you, hit the subscribe button. If you're interested in more of these videos, hit that bell button. That'll let you know when we go live. Twice a day we go live. Later we'll do the stock market update. Pretty good day so far, huh? If you're keeping tabs on what the market's done today, we will cover it all at 5 o'clock. And that's it. I really appreciate you guys watching. We will talk to you at 5 o'clock today. Enjoy and get that debt paid off.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interest comes before ours.